Welcome to another episode of the Sales Manager Academy podcast. As always, I'm your host, Omar, and we talk about leadership in the boutique retail setting world. What does that mean? We're talking about wireless retail. We're talking about AV. We're talking about appliances. We're talking about furniture. We're talking about everything and anything outside of big box retail, where typically it's not just the product that we're selling. There's a little bit more, and there has to be more nuanced information, knowledge that you have to have, and skill sets compared to your big box retail chains. Okay. And one of the biggest things that we talk about is how, as leaders, we can become better for our people, how we can help increase productivity, how we can help reduce churn, how we can help actually build things like a culture and actually have a system that helps our people, helps us as leaders become better. And today we're going to talk about retention through coaching and how we can cut turnover down. Okay. Because it's one of the least utilized, in my opinion, methods that we have as leaders, as organizations. Because oftentimes when you think about coaching, you're talking about letting people go. You're talking about writing people up so that you can have documentation to fire them, right? It's literally in that order. That's the only reason that 90% of the companies out there and managers out there, not even leaders, just managers, do coachings. They're not trying to get their people to become better. They're just trying to get people out the door. And it boggles my mind. You spent so long, you spent weeks, sometimes months, trying to fill up the staffing situation, only to turn around and let people go in sometimes not even a week or two, right? And I'm talking about barring any like major violations. I'm talking about just stuff that as companies, as organizations, as leaders, we need to do, coach and train our people up. We just bring them on board and throw them in, be like, figure it out, and wonder why we're not getting the type of production that we should be getting from our people. We wonder why there's, a lag in when they come on board and when they actually become great. And I'm here to tell you from experience, okay, literally having a system to coach your people up, to train and develop them within the first 90 days makes such a huge difference in the production that you're going to get from your teams and what you can expect compared to how y'all been doing it in the past or how you've been unfortunately taught and conditioned to do it. Okay. So the thing is that you guys don't have a hiring problem. You have a coaching problem. High turnover is what happens when development is an option and is not the norm. Okay. So if you really think about it, turnover is more of a math problem. Okay, we're talking about people coming in, people leaving, the lost opportunity, the cost of having to bring people in, right, and then the cost of ramping them up, and then also the cost of losing those people. It really is a math problem, and honestly, coaching is going to be the cheapest and easiest and fastest fix you're going to have because you can retain people that otherwise would have left. You can retain people who have great tribal knowledge, right? Procedural knowledge and what to do, because oftentimes it's going to be very small little things that we can do that makes a bigger impact, and our people are going to be the same way, right? Give you guys an idea. ICIMS has done, research on this, and they estimate the cost per hire is roughly between about $4,100 to $4,800 dollars per person. And that's right, not counting, execs. We're talking about like frontline workers. Okay. So that's what we're talking about when we're talking about lost productivity, is just that. And that's to bring them, right? That's the cost to hire. That's not even the cost to get them up and running. That number is higher. Now, when you're talking about retention, we're talking about training. I always use a 90-day benchmark because that actually goes a very long way in making sure that your people are set up for success, because you have great milestones to really hit on the most important aspects of what they're going to be doing during that period, especially when you're talking about frontline employees. Okay. You're talking about, entry-level sales positions, entry-level customer care, customer service positions, stuff of that nature, right? We're not talking about leadership roles. We're not talking about exec roles. I'm talking about right here, right now, your salespeople. And the majority of y'all know this, that it doesn't matter how high, salary you're paying or hourly you're paying, you're treating your salespeople like entry-level salespeople, okay? And when you think about it that way, especially depending on your organization, if it really truly is an entry-level position, you need to train to that. There are certain skills that they must have that are going to make things a lot faster and better. And honestly, I'm on the bandwagon of you have to have certain skills. So you have to have had some kind of work, right, experience before getting into one of these roles. Because if you've never dealt with customers anytime before, that role is not the role to jump into to learn how to, talk with people, how to conversate, how to have just basic customer care, customer service skills, right? That's not the role. Now, if you've had positions, paid or volunteer, that have had you work with people, that gives you a level of skill that some other people don't have. So yes, I'm not talking about taking people literally from 0 to 1. I'm talking about taking people from 0 to 1 who have some type of base level skills to what we're doing. Okay. And when you have that 90-day milestone period, it really makes a difference. Now, onboarding quality strongly predicts how a person's going to leave, how early they're going to exit the organization. 70% of new hires decide fit within the first month. Think about that, the first 30 days. Okay. And companies have about 44 days to win them over before they decide to bounce. All right. And if you're wondering where that's from, it's some research that was done through Bamboo HR. And that's what they found, right? Majority of your people, and you guys know this, are leaving within 30 days, if not sooner. Some of them may not even show up, right? Based on what they know about you, what they've heard about you from the grapevine or the organization. Okay. So keep that in mind. It's super important to know that. Now, your time as a leader, as a manager, it isn't free. Your impact on engagement is super important. Okay? You account for about 70% of the variance in team engagement. As a leader, you are the reason why your team is engaged or disengaged. And as a regional, right, as an exec level leader, I'm not looking at my employees at the front to see what is going on with the engagement. I am looking at the leaders at those locations to see what the fuck is going on. Because I know that it's not the employees are the issue. The issue is the people running those locations. So as a leader, as a manager that wants to actually be a true leader, you need to step up and actually be the leader that your team needs. And there's certain things that you have to do to be able to do that. And part of it is showing your team you care that they become successful, that you are going to do everything in your power to make sure they are successful. And part of that is mentoring, guiding, and training, right? That's going to lead to the development of their skill sets to truly become better at what they're doing. And it goes a very long way. Okay? Super, super important. There's so many different topics and, research that shows this already. This is not something that we're talking about out of our ass. You've got to step up as a leader. How do you do that? Okay. So easiest way is literally have milestones. That way you and everybody else is on the same page. Your new hires, the leaders you're leaving in place to help them, they know. Everybody knows the expectations. Inspect what you expect, right? Inspect it, because if you have expectations, but you never inspect that things are going according to it, that things are being done appropriately, you have no expectations because you're letting them know, yeah, this is what I'm telling you, but I could care less if you guys do it or not. And that's not how things are run. That is not how you become successful as a leader and actually develop a system. Systems have, different checkpoints in place to ensure things are going smooth. You have quality assurance checks. You got to make sure things are running smooth and things are going according. And if it's not, we need to adjust. We need to fix what's going on where the hiccup is happening. Because when you have that system in place, you can tell where in the process the issue is happening and you can adjust it and fix it. And that allows you to, 1, reduce the number of people leaving, and 2, increase the quality output of the people that are staying, the people that have been onboarded. And I know that's your biggest complaint. And I'm telling you how to fix it. I'm telling you from experience how to fix it. If you have questions, let me know. Ask. Okay. If you haven't thought about it, if you've watched my episodes, if you've seen my content and you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, make sure to follow. I have a newsletter that I send out every single week that recaps the episodes as well. So if you want to make sure that you can get this information in an easier to digest format, join the newsletter. Okay. If you have questions on it, the links are in the descriptions for the video. So watch them, grab them, join, and stop wondering why people are leaving. Start fixing the problem. And I guarantee you, you're going to be surprised what you can do in just a matter of weeks compared to everything else. It really doesn't take that long to really turn things around, but you have to take the action to do it. And when you take the action and you see the results, the motivation is going to continue helping you move forward. Okay? Now, coaching, guys, is a cadence. You have to have a rhythm when it comes to coaching. That's what's going to keep your people past 90 days, because when they know that you actually do follow-ups, you actually are focusing in on developing and on training them, on making sure that they're better by offering coaching sessions, by actually taking time, knowing their numbers, going over the numbers with them, seeing what they're going to be focusing on and supporting them. That's all they're asking you for. They're not asking you to do everything for them. They're asking you for support to be able to do things, because they don't know what they don't know. Especially if you've been around in the industry longer, you know things that they don't know, and you might be able to point them out, but it's not about you pointing things out. It's about them realizing them and them being able to figure it out. So it's your job to guide them, to mentor them. Be the wizard to the hero. You don't solve everything for them. They do have to struggle through it. But that struggle is where they're going to find that resilience, where they're going to learn those skills and they're going to become better because of it. And when they know that you're going to be there to support them throughout the process, it alleviates the fears that they have of messing up and not trying. Okay? And that is huge. You can do simple things. I'm a big proponent of my 15-minute framework. Yes, I'm a little bit biased because I've used it for decades. I've used it for such a long time. And I started using it myself on myself. Okay. And that's how I figured out how I would hit my goals. That's what I figured out what I needed to actually hit. Right. Because yeah, I have my company goals, but then I also have my financial goals I want to hit. So this is what I'm after to actually hit what I need to hit. And just so happens that my goals were always higher than the company average, than the company goals were. And simple things, because I could break it down. I could visualize what I was doing, and then I could actually focus in on what I needed to do. And it just made my life so much easier. And when I started doing it with other people, and I started making their life so much easier, and they started picking up things faster and being able to move forward a lot faster and quicker with the results. I mean, what else can you ask for as a leader? You're getting the performance, and you'd be surprised. It almost feels like it's minimal output as a leader that you're doing. And when you start seeing those results and you're able to kind of pull back because they're taking the lead more, you're doing so well. And your team's going to feel amazing, especially when they start getting those bonus and commission checks, right? Because don't be afraid. I've never have shied away from telling my team that I was being selfish and wanting them to be successful, because their success literally means my success as a leader. My pay, my bonuses, my commissions are dependent on their performance. So I have a vested interest in making sure that they're doing amazing. Because even if they're only as good as 60, 70% of what I can do, there's more of them than there are of me. So the productivity is definitely going to be a lot better than me. So don't be that manager that, is, a manager in title, but just still selling, trying to outsell everybody else. You're not helping anybody become better. You're not helping them actually truly become better at their craft. You're just being an ignorant fool, to be truthful, because you're going to lose them, because they're not going to have the trust in you that you're going to back them, that you're going to help them become better. Okay. And when you focus on the coachings and then you also have milestones, that makes things so much better, especially when they're first starting off and you break things down for them and they understand, okay, I know this is what I need to hit. But as a new hire, this is where I need to be able to get to. You're giving them a roadmap. If you guys have ever played RPGs before, I'm a big RPG guy. Final Fantasy, love it. They don't start you off with the hardest monsters first. You're going to fail. You're just not going to win. Okay? You have to level up. You have to learn new skills. You end up getting new jobs, right? By learning new skills, and that allows you to learn even more. And then you can go into, if you want to become a SME, or if you want to become, a more of a generalist. As leaders, guys, we're generalists. That is truly what we are. Okay. But there's nothing wrong with that. You're able to help different individuals, different departments better than a SME could ever do it, because they're only focused in on one particular area. And outside of that scope, they're going to be useless. Okay. That's the truth about being a SME. Okay. But as a generalist, you're able to help them out. And when you have new hires coming in and you're able to break it down within, a 90-day period, right? Week 1, this is what I expect you to do, right? By week 2, this is the goal. By week 4, I don't break it down into every single individual week, because I know that in between like week 3 and 4, a lot of it's going to be repetition, right? But there's a particular thing I want you to be able to hit by week 4. Okay. Then by week 6 and 8, this is the goal. Okay. So between weeks 5 and 6, this is what I want you to focus on. Between weeks 7 and 8, this is what I want you to focus on. So by the end of week 6, you should be able to do this. By the end of week 8, you should be able to do this. And then by the 90th day, you should be able to do this. I break it down so it's really the core competencies of what I'm trying to get after. And it's typically like the larger KPIs, right? I don't focus on every single little KPI. And as a leader, that's the worst thing that you can do. Why? Because you're not giving direction. You're literally just throwing spaghetti on the wall and you're hoping everything's going to stick. And we know that's not going to happen. You have to break things down, and you have to know which of those KPIs are keystone ones so that you can build habits around it. And then which other KPIs are really, okay, this will come when we focus on this. So we want to focus on this KPI, and the rest of these other ones are going to follow if we focus on this one. Okay. So this is what we're going to target. And that's what you do. Don't focus on trying to do multiple things every single week. There's just not enough time. Don't focus on data dumping on, the first week or one day and hoping that they're going to remember that. They're going to retain less than 20% of that information. Realistically, they're going to retain, maybe if you're lucky, 10%, right? 20% on the high end. And then once they start actually practicing, that's when they start retaining at a higher capacity, 70, 80 plus %. So that's why I chunk things down. 15-minute coaching sessions. I do small little, coaching classes for groups so that we can go over certain information. But I keep it short, I keep it simple, and the rest of it is on practice. And then that way they can go into the field and continue to learn from it. That's what makes a bigger impact. That's where a lot of your new hires are going to learn more, because now they can take the information, they can see how it works on the actual floor in the real world. They can bring that back and be able to go over it, and they're actually retaining all the information because now they're seeing it, they're utilizing it, and it makes it easier for them to retain and actually call back. That is the secret to being able to do the 90-day milestone period, to be able to do the 15-minute coaching sessions, because you're chunking things down, you're making it consumable. And more importantly, they can actually retain the information and recall it to use it in them, okay, in the future, on the floor, wherever. And that's the biggest thing, okay? So you want to focus on the KPIs that are going to be leading. You don't want to focus on all of them, okay? And you want to be upfront. You don't want to focus on one KPI and then 3 weeks later come back to that one KPI. This is why we have to have a coaching rhythm. And if you as a leader, right, if you're an area, district, regional, if you can't do it consistently, you have to make sure your local leadership can. So you have to train those people up to be able to do it. You have to coach the trainers, right? Train the trainers, coach the coaches. You have to do that aspect to be able to get there. Okay? Now, when you start focusing on, well, how is this going to really impact me? How is this? I've been there. I've literally taken districts, I've taken locations that had high churn, low employee engagement, and flipped them around. currently I've turned a location that hit goal once in 6 months since that they were open. I'm going out to 7 months now. Okay, hit goal once, and the rest of the month they just fell off a cliff. And now that location was number one for that organization last month, and they're still leading right now. And it's like, how is that possible? Those employees never hit goal before. They had poor, what we call NPS, right? The customer surveys, right? Customer satisfactions. And then all of a sudden it turns around and they're able to have better customer scores, better customer satisfaction scores. Their performance is improved. Their KPIs are among the best, right? It's not skeleton selling. It's not just selling bare bones. No, the volume and the KPIs and the metrics are there. Simple. Focusing on coaching sessions, inspecting what you expect, letting them know you're there to support them. You're not just going to take things from them. You're going to show them how to do it, and you're going to expect them to be able to do it. And then you're giving them the room to be able to do it and to be able to mess up on their own. And you're not calling them anything when they reach out to you for assistance. Okay? You're asking them, all right, so what do you think what the next step is on this? And you're letting them be the ones that solve the problem before you solve it. I'm not going to say you don't course correct when things aren't correct, but you're allowing them multiple times to try it on their own first before you jump in to do anything. And that goes a long way. That goes a long way in making sure your team understands that you're there to actually support them. You're there to want them to be able to succeed. And that is where they get that confidence to actually perform. Guys, the motivation, the confidence, that comes after the action has been taken and you start to see results. And then you'll get the motivation and the confidence to continue it. And it just becomes a cycle. It's a habit loop. And that's what you're creating. It's a little bit of psychology to it. Okay? But yes, you have to support your team. You have to help them become better. And you're going to see how well they're going to perform. And you're going to see that it can continue. And when you start performing, you start getting more customers. You start getting more referrals. You start to need more people. And you follow the same process. I've taken locations where they never thought they would have more than 4 employees to be locations that had 17 plus employees. It happens, and it's doable, and you're capable of doing it. Might just need a little bit of guidance to be there. But that's what I'm here for. And the goal is to have a group, have a community of people like us that support each other to do this. So guys, I want to say thank you for spending time once again with me here at Social Manager Academy podcast. I'm Omar. Don't forget, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button to make sure you show support and be in the know when things happen. Guys, once again, thank you for your time. I'll catch you on the next one.